In a dimly lit antique shop nestled in a forgotten alley, a man named Jake stumbled upon a peculiar object, a life-sized doll, crafted with unnerving realism. The shopkeeper, an elderly man with a hollow gaze, warned Jake that the doll wasn't for sale. But Jake, captivated by the doll's allure, insisted and offered an irresistible amount. With a reluctant sigh, the shopkeeper finally relented, but not before muttering, "She's been waiting." Jake was an ordinary man, but loneliness had crept into his life. The doll, with its perfect features and hauntingly beautiful eyes, seemed to fill that void. The moment he brought the doll home, the atmosphere in his apartment changed. It felt heavier, like the air was thick with an unseen presence. He placed the doll in his bedroom, admiring its craftsmanship. That night, as he drifted to sleep, he felt something cold graze his cheek. He dismissed it as a trick of his mind, but the feeling lingered like icy fingers had brushed against him. Over the next few days, Jake noticed small, unsettling changes. The doll's position seemed to shift when he wasn't looking. Sometimes he could swear its eyes followed him as he moved around the room. A chilling draft seemed to emanate from the doll, no matter how warm the room was. One night, Jake awoke to the sound of soft whispers, like a distant chant. He sat up, his heart pounding, and looked towards the doll. Its mouth, once closed, was slightly open, and the whispers grew louder. The words were indistinguishable, but they carried a weight of dread. Suddenly, the whispers stopped, leaving an oppressive silence in their wake. Jake was drenched in cold sweat, too terrified to move. As the days passed, Jake's health began to deteriorate. He had nightmares where the doll would come to life, crawling towards him with a twisted grin. He'd wake up screaming, only to find the doll still sitting in its usual place, its expression unchanged. But the nightmares felt so real to real. Jake started to avoid the bedroom, sleeping on the couch instead. But even there, he couldn't escape the doll's influence. Objects would move on their own, and he'd hear the same haunting whispers no matter where he was. The doll's presence seemed to permeate the entire apartment, driving him to the brink of madness. One evening, as Jake sat in the living room, the television flickered on by itself, showing static. Through the white noise, his own voice began to emerge. "She's mine now," it said. Jake's heart raced as he looked towards the doll, now standing upright in the doorway, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. Desperate, Jake decided to return the doll to the shop, but when he arrived, the alley was gone, as if it had never existed. Panicking, he ran back to his apartment, only to find the doll sitting in the center of the room, surrounded by a circle of candles. The air was thick with the smell of burning wax, and something far more sinister. The doll's eyes locked onto his, and Jake felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over him. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. The doll began to laugh, a cold, hollow sound that echoed in his mind. The lights flickered, and in that moment, Jake felt his soul being pulled from his body, as if the doll was consuming him. When the lights stabilized, Jake was gone. In his place stood the doll, now eerily resembling him, with a twisted smile frozen on its face. The whispers ceased, replaced by a deafening silence. The apartment lay vacant for months, until new tenants moved in. They found the doll, dusty and forgotten, in the corner of the bedroom. Despite its unsettling appearance, they decided to keep it. unaware of the horrors it held within. And so the cycle began again, with the doll waiting patiently for its next victim.